Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time, Wednesday night edition. Hope everybody's having a great evening so far. Baseball fans, you just saw Aaron Judge tie the AL home run record, number 61, pulling him even with Roger Maris. But we're not here to talk about baseball tonight. We're here to talk about keys to success for the Titans. Now, of course, we'll do Titan Game Day morning on Sunday with those three specific keys to the game. But since we have Mike Vrabel, Ryan Tannehill, and Greg Cosell audio to share with you tonight, thought we'd get a little head start. Before we get into the conversation and the content, I need you guys to share this show wherever it is that you view it. If you are on Twitter, please retweet the show in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. If you are on YouTube or on Twitch, you can like the video. You can subscribe to the channel if you would like to do so. And we would appreciate your participation that way. If you're on Facebook Live like Darren, Brock, or Tiffany, you can share now to public. That's in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. And your Facebook friends can get you in on that. With a lot of different things to talk about, a lot of different elements to get into, and a lot of good conversations to share with you guys, I think we can go ahead and start the show. Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time on a Wednesday evening from the Superbook Sports Studios. I'm your host, Buck Rising. I'm proud, as always, to be presented to you by Truemav Fitness, a new way to work out, a better way to work out, designed for every level of fitness. Truemav Fitness in the Gulch. For your first free class, TruemavFitness.com. Two Rivers Ford, where you go for the optimal car buying experience. In Mount Juliet or online at tworiversford.com. They'll help you get great guaranteed rates. Tell you more about that later on. The Ashton Real Estate Group of RE/MAX Advantage, the Intel edge you need to succeed. We do sports intel on this show. Gary does Nashville real estate intel at GaryAshton.com. And Superbook Sports, where you can go to wager on all the football this season. Superbook.com for terms and conditions. They'll match your first bet up to $1,000, no matter if it wins or loses. So, a lot of different things that we've had the opportunity to study, to scrutinize. I watched the Chiefs and the Colts game back a couple of different times yesterday and today, kind of getting ready for the show as we talked about yesterday. And in doing so, you kind of start to identify trends, what's applicable from like the numbers that you see during the course of the week, right? Like there'll be crazy numbers like the Colts have allowed, haven't allowed a 100-yard rusher in their last 75 games or something ridiculous like that. It's not a true stat, but you'll see stats like that coming into matchups, especially when there's a long track record of those series taking place, like there is with divisional opponents, the Titans and the Colts, the Jags and the Texans, all these different things. So I think that when you go through all the different things that are applicable to this game, you have to remove last year's results from the equation. Yeah, it's cool that the Titans swept the Colts in 2021, but those teams, both sides, are not these teams that are going to play, and they're going to see each other in a really, really short amount of time. 2 games in a month. This weekend up at Indianapolis, they'll go to Washington the following, then have a bye. They'll get the Colts at home coming off their early week 6 bye. So for all of these different things that you're trying to identify, you're going to have time, or you're going to have the opportunity to knock one of the legitimate contenders in your division out early. The Jags, who we'll talk about, I'm sure, later on in the season, as we get closer to those games in December, are a legitimate threat too. But as you look to kind of get a handle on these things, the Colts is a great place to start. So I will let's start with the Two Rivers Ford take here on this Wednesday evening in the comments on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, wherever it is that you consume us. Want to ask you this question about this upcoming game. Going to be a fun one. By the way, I heard there's a Titans Road Rally taking place in Indianapolis. I don't have the specific details on where it is for you, but I know that the team is promoting it on their website for those of you who are making the trip. Who knows? Depending on what bar it's at. Indianapolis is a city of my youth, about 45 minutes north of where I went to college. So I'm familiar with the bar scene around there. If you guys are at this road rally, perhaps I'll pop in and say hi. But before we do that, or before we talk about things and fun that's going to be had this weekend, let me get your Two Rivers Ford take. What made the Titans offense more successful last week against the Raiders? Real simple. You don't have to hyperanalyze it. You can just give me one thing that you thought made them more successful as a group. Now, we have documented at length the scoring margin in the second half of games. They're getting outscored 57-7. It's not an ideal circumstance. But I do think that that's one of those trends coming into this game that I don't think is as applicable to the matchup itself. So what made the Titans offense more successful last week? We're going to talk about it together right after I remind you that Two Rivers Ford has great guarantees on vehicles if you want to explore your potential. They have all kinds of great vehicles that are getting ready to roll out for the 2023 model year Fords. The Explorer, the Escape, the Bronco Sport, F-150, Ranger, or Mustang. When you custom order a 2023 model year Ford, they'll guarantee a 2.9% APR for 60 months for all qualified buyers, which means you can order your vehicle now and lock in a great rate for whenever it is that you start paying. It's the kind of peace of mind that Two Rivers Ford offers. Plus, they'll give you $500 bonus cash on top of the already low prices that they have. Two Rivers Ford, by the way, always gives a complimentary works package oil change whenever you purchase a vehicle. The best prices and guaranteed rates, all at a locally owned dealership with non-commissioned salespeople. Custom order your next Ford from Two Rivers Ford. So, what made the Titans offense more successful last Sunday, or I guess this past Sunday in Indianapolis? Chris Frazier says more deep balls, more deep. Well, that's a good question, Chris. I don't know what Ryan Tannehill's yards per attempt was last week. I can probably look it up with relative ease to kind of give you an assessment. I wonder if they'll go game by game or if it's just going to be on the season. No, I can pull up the last game that the players, each of the players have had. Let's see, last 2 weeks for Ryan Tannehill. Sorry if this is not great content, me talking through these things. Actually, it's kind of divided up into a weird way. It will only give me the last 2 weeks, his average yards per attempt. But I can tell you that he's top 9 in the last 2 weeks. He's the ninth. He is attempting the ninth deepest passes per attempt at 8.1 yards. So, yeah, he's throwing it beyond the line of scrimmage on a regular basis. He's right between Aaron Rodgers, ironically enough, and Jacoby Brissett. The top 10, I'll just run through them with you quickly. And Trey Lance does count into this for what it's worth. He had enough attempts to qualify in the last 2 weeks. Jalen Hurts, Tua, Lamar, Marcus Mariota, Mac Jones, Matthew Stafford, Aaron Rodgers, and Ryan Tannehill at 8.1. So I don't think deep passes is something they struggle with. I think that they get more yards after catch than most teams do, as opposed to explosive plays like down the field, like 30 yards down the field, 40 yards down the field. Last Sunday, it was being willing to take the check down plays until the linebackers were willing to cheat up, says Ben Hall. I do agree without that. Bryce Erickson says they're better without Taylor Lewan. Obviously, Bryce didn't look at their pressures that they allowed, even though Ryan Tannehill has not been sacked a lot. He's still getting hit fairly frequently, which of course counts. So that's not relevant. Raiders were giving up gap integrity, trying to get sideways and small to slip through to get Henry, and then got caught a few times for some nice run blocks. Yeah, the Titans' run game was designed well, I thought, on Sunday. And I honestly thought it was fine against the Giants. It's just Derrick didn't hit the hole as hard as he was in this particular game. Now, overall, I don't think they overwhelmingly ran the ball that well, but this is the top run defense through the first 3 weeks in football so far. They do pose a legitimate challenge. So when you're looking at the thing that made the Titans offense the most successful last week, I think it is that kind of curveball of Derrick Henry in the passing game, screens, checkdowns, just something to keep forward momentum, to keep Tannehill in rhythm, to not have to, not have to keep the running back in to chip additionally. It just helps free things up a little bit. So I do think that both Hilliard and Henry being a part of their passing game is relevant. I don't think you can do stuff like that every week because obviously teams are going to figure it out. They're going to look at tendencies. They're going to sit on certain routes, and they'll start to factor Derrick in more to the passing game. But as they do that, then you can make your own adjustments and try and catch a team like the Colts on their heels. But the Colts are a good defense. They haven't been great offensively. In fact, haven't been great offensively is probably way too generous a way to talk about them. They have been poor, certainly with the offensive line, and Matt Ryan has fumbled the ball and thrown interceptions at a rate that has been unexpected. But the Colts on defense are sound. They're solid, and they pride themselves in doing the thing that you allegedly do best, the rushing attack.
You're getting closer to one of those long runs by Derrick Henry?
Well, I mean, I think some of that is just going to be, you don't draw them up thinking that they're going to be 75 yarders. We've had some, we had some runs that were really close. We've had some really good official runs that had one that got us down to the 1 yard line. We broke through. We've gotten on the safety a couple times. So confident that if we can continue to do some things that we were doing, the other day, that'll be a challenge. This is a great defense, fast. They run the football. It hasn't been easy to run the football on them. So, we'll have to it'll be great this week.
You mentioned how good of a defense it is. Colts coming in with third best rush defense. You mentioned they're fast up front. What are some of the challenges they bring?
Well, they're athletic. I mean, they have a very consistent scheme. I think that they don't really. It's not like they're trying to trick you. They play a bunch of guys up front. Buckner and Stewart are the leaders in there that they can move. They can stay in their gap. They can play with their hands. They do a lot of different things. The edge guys are active and fast and in a tough matchup. And then just really inside, the linebackers are fast. They tackle. It's gonna be critical that we try to get on them. If you don't put a hat on them, they'll be there and most likely trying to hammer the football out.
So that's Mike Vrabel today at his press conference talking about, one, breaking Derrick Henry loose, and two, the Colts on defense. Did the Chiefs just have a bad day, or did the Colts have an especially good game? Asked Karen O'Keefe. Well, I think both things can be so. I think that there were a couple of missed opportunities. To count how many points the Chiefs, I thought, left on the table, I thought that they could have at least had another 2 touchdowns. One that was a tough catch, but a drop ultimately on Travis Kelce, who has shown himself capable of making some pretty incredible catches. A couple of missed opportunities by the Chiefs on the whole. And the Colts defense is playing really well right now. Like, I was looking through some of the notes that the NFL sends out each week on these teams. They've been a really strong defense so far. As far as scoring, they're only allowing 20.3 points per game. For reference, the Titans are allowing 28 points per game. At this point, they are tops against the rush in particular. Looking at total defense is not necessarily applicable, but I do think it's noteworthy that they're allowing 85 less yards total than the Titans have through these couple of games. Their offense has been the biggest problem because they're only, they're averaging less than 2 touchdowns through the first 3 weeks. The Titans are scoring at a rate. They're not scoring at a high rate because they have that stinker in Buffalo. So they're only averaging 17 points per game are the Titans, but the Colts are 13.3. The offense has really, really labored so far, but you saw them kind of take advantage of some opportunities that the Chiefs gave them and made and capitalized on some results like Jelani Woods in the red zone, the rookie tight end who they just got involved for the first time in week 3. Matt Ryan isn't comfortable yet with his wide receivers. It looks like when you watch them back, that will get better over time. The best thing about that is that these games are over this month. So by the time Matt Ryan gets comfortable with his new Colts wide receivers, you may already have a significant advantage over the Colts if you handle business at Indianapolis and then back home. Honestly, though, who has been running the ball on them so far, says MB? Well, the Texans have not. Dameon Pierce was supposed to be, the Texans rushing attack with Dameon Pierce was projected to be better at the start of the season. That has not turned out to be a successful strategy yet for them thus far. The Jags are obviously capable of running the football. The Jags have that ungodly shutout win, 24-0 over them. James Robinson didn't have a fantastic day. He had 23 carries for 64 yards and a touchdown, but they were able to move the ball on the ground. I think Jacksonville's rushing attack, by the way, is limited because their offensive line is not very good. We'll see if that comes together. The Chiefs are capable of running the ball. They're built to run the ball, as a matter of fact. And I think the Chiefs' offensive line is one of the better run blocking units in the sport. In fact, they've had to kind of change how they play to get Patrick Mahomes to be more disciplined, more efficient, rather than looking for these crazy deep plays down the field and try and matriculate the ball more, because they've got an offensive line that is more equipped, better equipped to run block in these situations. So to shut the Chiefs down like that, like Clyde Edwards-Helaire, the stat line was, honestly, read pretty funny because the leading rusher in this game between the Colts and the Chiefs was Patrick Mahomes. He had 4 carries for 26 yards. You look at the box score, and the box score doesn't always tell the entire story, but when the box score looks like this for Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who had 7 carries, 0 yards, and a touchdown, and a long run of 4, they only average 2.5 yards per carry against this Colts defense. So the Chiefs are capable of getting playmakers involved in their rushing attack. They don't run that often. That's the thing about Andy Reid that I think catches a lot of people up, because they're built to. But it is something that the Chiefs, honestly, I thought should have been able to handle the Colts. They let the Colts back in the game. The Colts capitalized to their credit. So I think when you're talking about strengths and weaknesses, what is the kind of thing that you're looking at on paper, for lack of a better term? What made the Titans offense more successful last week? I'll tell you what I think about that here in just a second, right after I remind you that the place that's going to make you successful is Truemav Fitness, going to make you successful in your fitness journey. Maybe jersey too, if you're trying to fit into an old jersey. I don't know what's going on with you physically. Maybe you want to get back into some clothes that don't fit. Maybe you got some you got some items in your closet that you're looking at and being like, my goal by the end of the fall and winter is to be able to fit back into that sweater comfortably, instead of using the sweater to hide the things about my body that I don't like. We've all been guilty of that before. Or, for example, like me, when my face got fat, I started growing a beard to make sure that I still looked like I had a jawline. Truemav Fitness can make sure you get your body and your jawline back with a new way to work out. Their classes are specifically tailored to make sure that your body never stalls out, to make sure that they are comfortable, or that you are comfortable at any fitness level, participating in their 45-minute boot camp style classes. I've done it myself. Specifically, the lower body days are something that I really enjoy. I think they work in a good mix of lifting, calisthenics, and cardio to make sure that you're keeping active even in your recovery, and making sure that you maximize your workout time. TrueMathFitness.com for your first workout free. You can check out more of their classes in the Mind Body app. So, looking at the situation, Puka says, Buck, your face looks a lot slimmer. Well, thank you. That's a shout out to Truemav Fitness. Well, actually, there's a couple of people I have to attribute that to. Some no free ads, but a company that I'm working with on the radio show as far as the dietary situation is concerned. And then again, no free ads, but another gym that does not advertise on the primetime show, but also one that I frequent. So I'm appreciative of all 3 of those factors for a less fat face. So we're happy about that. Derrick says, Buck is a psycho. Nobody likes leg day. You're probably doing the wrong leg workouts. So go to TrueMathFitness.com. So looking at Adrian Martinez says cap. I hope he's talking about me still having a fat face. That would make me laugh. But I think that as far as the advantages for the Titans and what they kind of did better last week offensively, I do think the rushing attack was more efficient. I thought Derrick hit the hole harder. I thought the run blocking was not sustainable. Here's the thing that kind of jumps out at me about the way that the Titans weren't able to finish. They weren't able to run the ball very well in the second half. Now, Ryan Tannehill made a couple of critical errors. I thought as well. I thought that the play calling got conservative. I thought that the interception certainly hurt them. So all of those factors led to a scoreless second half. But I do think it's worth noting that they didn't run the ball very well. They're supposed to be able to control the clock, control the lead once they get it, and use Derrick to kind of finish things out. They didn't do that against the Raiders. And the Raiders are not, Chandler Jones and Max Crosby play the run very, very well. Truly they do. But I think that it is important to note that the strength of the Titans has been to close out these games with that rushing attack. That's what lets Derrick have the, incredible numbers, and he starts to wear the defense down, and, the explosive plays start to come and they feel like they're rolling. That's how it ends up going. We're getting blown up at the handoff when it's obvious that we're running, says Ben Hall. Yeah, I think that's a offensive line problem as well. 85 yards and penalties fix that. Yes, that is something that needs to be cut in half per game. I think they ended up having seven penalties again on Sunday. Let me fact check that with my game book from last week, if I can find the appropriate page. Let's see. Penalties by both teams. Penalties, the number and yards lost. The Raiders had 6 penalties for 44. The Titans had 7 penalties for 85 yards lost. So, yeah, you're not a good enough team to give up 85 yards in penalties. You're just simply not. Crosby gave Petit Frere his welcome to the NFL. Yes, I thought that Dennis Daly had a difficult time. That 3rd and 1, for example, where they end up going for it on 4th and 3. Go back and watch what Max Crosby and Chandler Jones did to the 2 Titans tackles on that play to collapse it in and get Derrick for a loss of 4 or a loss of 3 before they ended up having to go for it on 4th and 4. Ja is 1,000% correct. Max Crosby gave the rookie the business. And listen, DeForest Buckner is going to be a handful. There's guys like that every week on the schedule in the NFL. I know it's a cliche, but it's really and truly an honest assessment. So Carlos asks a question, and then we'll move on, because here's the thing I don't want to do. I'm totally fine to answer questions about injuries, but I don't want to completely derail the show for them, if you know what I mean, because I feel like one person asks and then 17 other people ask about Elijah Molden on IR and all these different things, and that's fine. So the status we'll just do quickly. I've spent more time than I meant to just in explaining what the hell I'm talking about, which pisses me off. But Carlos asked, what's the status of Bud Dupree? Bud practiced today, fully. So just to kind of run down things from practice today, what I was able to see, Kyle Phillips and Ola Adeni did practice. They were in a yellow medical jersey or a yellow non-contact jersey. Bud Dupree was back out there and did participate. Did not see Treylon Burks, Amani Hooker, or Zach Cunningham. So that's notable. And the guys that were limited today, Ugo Amadi, Christian Fulton, dealing with a knee injury as opposed to a hamstring injury from last year. Amani Hooker is the big one because it says on the injury report, concussion. That is not good. And apparently Treylon Burks is dealing with an illness. So let's keep it going here on A to Z Sports Prime Time. Let's talk about Treylon Burks, because we'll see what the situation for him looks like. I found an interesting trend between AJ Brown and Treylon Burks from their rookie seasons. What happened to Burks, says Ja? Forgive me if you didn't hear that, Ja. He's dealing with an illness right now, so just a sick day. It looks like there's a bunch of stuff going around. It's flu season, and a variety of other things. So not that deep. Bryce Erickson says Burks illness and AJ Brown never got sick, right, Chris? It's pretty funny. I think that I will get into the Treylon Burks thing here in just a second, but I want to ask you guys this question because I'd be curious to hear your response about it. Fair or foul? The Titans are slow playing Treylon Burks right now. I've got some numbers on his snap counts and receptions, and I've got that alongside AJ Brown from his first year with the Titans. So fair or foul? the Titans are slow playing Treylon Burks. We can talk about it together on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch right after I tell you about the place that you need to go when it comes to the Intel Edge. That's the Ashton Real Estate Group of RE/MAX Advantage. The Intel Edge is what GaryAshton.com can provide. The Ashton Real Estate Group has been working in Middle Tennessee for decades at this point, helping members of the community find their best possible real estate investment. Whether you're looking to sell your home for more, the Ashton team has the intel that can help you do that without any showings or staging. They'll help you find your next home while you still work through this red-hot Nashville real estate market to sell your current one. They'll help you win the buyer battle and cash in on your home equity now. GaryAshton.com is where you go for the best information, the best properties, and the best real estate team, not just in Nashville, but in the entire world. The Gary Ashton team, the Ashton Real Estate Group of RE/MAX Advantage, at GaryAshton.com. So, are the Titans fair or foul? The Titans slow playing Treylon Burks. We asked Ryan Tannehill today about his situation with Robert Woods and kind of getting him going last week against the Raiders. And, if there's less of a learning curve with a guy like Woods who's played a lot of football as opposed to a lot of the rookies that Tannehill's working with this year. This was Tannehill specifically on his connection with Woods and what the offense needs to do to sustain.
How good was it to get Robert Woods going? You kind of had something going there in that last game. Just how important is to keep that, and also just anything with Austin Hooper, if you're going just continuing to make that somebody you're going to target.
Yeah, no doubt. I think Robert's done a good job the past 2 weeks, really, of kind of building on what he did in Buffalo and coming out and having another good game here at home last week. So definitely just want to keep it going in that direction with him, and then Hooper's going to get his opportunities. Hopefully sooner rather than later we'll see when they end up coming up. But obviously a talented guy and have a lot of chemistry with him. So I'm just looking forward to those spots opening up in games and being able to get him the ball.
With Woods, does it shorten the learning curve significantly when it's veteran to veteran when a new guy comes in?
It definitely shortens it. Some things just don't. It's a quick conversation as opposed to having to introduce something. He's already seen it before, heard it before. We're just getting on the same page. Some things I don't even have to tell him. He just already knows and does it. So, yeah, having that veteran presence in that room, that veteran leadership there, and then just as far as getting on the same page with me, he's done a great job so far, and it's showing.
How do you like?
So that's Ryan Tannehill talking about working with the veteran as opposed to the rookie. But here's the thing about Treylon Burks, okay? He played a higher percentage of the snaps than he has in last week's game, even though the receptions weren't there. Played a higher percentage of the snaps in that game than he has in the first 2 weeks, damn near combined at this point. And you look at Treylon next to AJ Brown, just because that's the comparison that gets made the most often. Here's what I'm going to give you both AJ and Treylon Burks' snap counts and percentage of snaps that they have played through their first 3 games with the Titans organization. Here are the numbers. So 3 weeks so far for the Titans. He was targeted 5 times in week 1, caught 3 passes for 55 yards. He played 37% of the offensive snaps. On Monday Night Football, targeted 6 times, caught 4 passes for 47 yards, played 25 snaps. That's 45% of their offensive plays. Last week, only targeted twice, caught 1 pass for 13 yards, had 1 rush for 8 yards. He played 40%, or rather, he played 69% of the snaps, 40 offensive snaps in total. So now you've heard those numbers, specifically the snap counts, all right? 37%, 45%, 69%. First time over 50% in week 3. Listen to AJ's numbers through the first 3 weeks, and I'm just going to give you the percentage of snaps first. 42%, 46%, 49%. Now, they were running a lot more plays than the Titans were running a lot more plays under Arthur Smith than they do under Todd Downing. But 25, 27, and 39 are the number of snaps that AJ played in his first 3 games. Treylon's 25, or rather 24, 25, and 40. So it's almost identical. It's next to identical. Now there's 40 accounts for a larger percentage of the Titan snaps in 2022 than it did in 2019, going back that far. But it's really similar in the way that they're kind of deploying these guys. Now, that may just be, a unique correlation that just happened to catch my attention when somebody asked me about them slow playing Treylon Burks today. And I think they want to see him earn more opportunities with the first team offense. He's played plenty in the preseason. He hasn't played a lot with the first team offense. This is something that they want to work up to. Now, whether you think that right, wrong, or indifferent, you got to think about this. Treylon Burks is playing, and I saw this stat from Alex Apple. I'll pull it up so I can quote him accurately, because it was a pretty interesting analysis from the Reception Perception podcast. Treylon Burks ran 80.5% of his snaps in the slot or backfield at Arkansas. Through the first 2 weeks, Burks played just 21% in the slot or the backfield. The analysis has been he's basically learning a new position. So I think that's the kind of stuff that you have to look at as they get him more comfortable within the offense. He's got to learn more plays. He's got to learn more route concepts. He's got to understand more about where the quarterback needs to be in certain circumstances. Ben Hall says the Titans are known for taking things slowly with rookies. Ben, I don't think that's, you're entitled to your opinion, of course, but I don't think that's an accurate assessment. Let's start with just this year. Roger McCreary is starting. Nick Petit-Frere is starting. Let's pull another rookie from the, Kyle Phillips is a starter, for lack of a better term. Treylon Burks is different. They're relying on guys who they think can know more about what they need to do on the field with a higher percentage of snaps. I think that the situation for the Titans is, they slow play the guys who need slow play. Caleb Farley clearly needs to be slow played. He's not ready to go out there, it would seem. Now, you would also say, well, isn't the job of the coaching staff to get him ready to get out there? Yes, that's fair criticism. But if he's not ready, don't put him out there. So that's basically been their situation. I think that when you look at this, Max Augsburger says Burks needs more targets like Olave and Wilson. You're talking about the Saints and the Jets. The Saints actually do have a pretty nice receiving core now that Michael Thomas is back. The Jets don't lack for skill position players either. I think that I haven't watched a ton of the Jets, and Zach Wilson, it sounds like he's going to play this week, but they're not the same. You're comparing things that are not like one another. I think that the more that because Lewis says, come to Nashville, you won't be a star. Well, some of that on the NFL level, you got to really earn it here more than just a lot of markets, because stars are tough to find in small media markets, and certainly Titans play in among the smallest. But that's not necessarily important for the conversation. The conversation is, what can Treylon Burks do? How many plays on the field can he do that specific thing that we know he's going to do right? Let's play him that amount, and let's see if we can't ramp him up over time. I think he's going to get a lot more of these reps now that it's, the rosters are smaller. He's not having to play with the 2s and the 3s like he was in training camp. It's something that I think is going to kind of be a slower building process. Let's see. AJ was a star. Make it make sense. He still is a star. He's not was a star. He's still a very, very high level player. Jael says, I think the timing will get better with the in-season practice and game reps. I very much agree. Like I said, it doesn't matter how much Treylon Burks played in the preseason, because Ryan Tannehill didn't play in the preseason with him. These are the first live action reps that they're getting. This is like week 3 of the preseason. Now you would say, well, play Ryan Tannehill in the preseason then. I don't think it's the end of the world in an expanded regular season, but I think that you continue to see that kind of growth and how that goes about developing. Let's see. How are we a small media market when Nashville's population is in the top 10? Got to quit that narrative. Well, that's just flatly incorrect information. Nashville's a top 50 market both in media size and population. Nashville is not a top 10. Not even metro, like not even if you're counting like Franklin and Brentwood and all these other places that technically reside in Nashville. That's just flatly wrong. So you got to quit that narrative because it's not correct. In fact, I think Metro Nashville is still under 1 million by the last census, but I can look at the Nashville metro population really quick since I have my information in front of me. Okay, it's under 2 million, but still, like Atlanta's 12 million people. Like Nashville's not sniffing. Nashville's a top 50 market by size. That's okay. You don't have to be the biggest and the baddest in everything. Nashville is between 17 and 21 of NFL cities. Yeah, that's probably right. I'd say that's probably accurate. All right, let's keep moving on this primetime show. The next question that we have for you is this on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, wherever it is that you're interacting with us. As a matter of fact, I accidentally exited out of my show rundown, so I need to pull up the next question for you guys in a more disjointed fashion, in a more cohesive fashion, rather. Which player is more important to the Titans, Kyle Phillips or Dontrell Hilliard? Now, I think you have to think about this one because they're different players. They do different things. And yes, the answer is they're both important, although they certainly do need Kyle Phillips to be a more effective special teams player, a more consistent special teams player. Which player, though, provides more value to the team right now? Dontrell Hilliard or Kyle Phillips? Let's talk about it together. You'll hear some Greg Cosell analysis momentarily, right after I remind you that Superbook Sports is where you go to try and take the fight to Vegas. That is what they offer you the opportunity to do. Superbook gives you the chance every week to go to head-to-head with the best odds makers in Las Vegas. No fancy computer algorithms, no guys from across the pond setting lines for American sports. Just the best team of odds makers in the business behind the counter at the Superbook in Las Vegas. Plus, Superbook features some of the best odds boosts and promo bets anywhere. So download the Superbook Sports app, visit superbook.com for terms and conditions, and start your battle against Vegas today. If you have a gambling problem, call the Tennessee Red Line, 1-800-889-9789. So, value to the offense. Kyle Phillips more or Dontrell Hilliard more at this point? Zach McLean says Kyle Phillips is done. He got hit too hard his first couple of games. Now he's shook. Well, of course, that's stupid. I've seen Kyle, not saying that you're stupid, Zach. I'm saying that position is stupid. Because, of course, that ignores Kyle Phillips' entire career, taking shots over the middle and still continuing to make plays as a Pac-12 star receiver. And, yeah, he's fully capable of doing it again. It just so happens the shoulder was significantly limiting him in his abilities. I think that's fine. You who's another giant player who got hit really hard this weekend? Oh, look at the Titans game. I don't know what Amani Hooker got a concussion from, but I would imagine that it was from hitting or knocking the holy hell out of Darren Waller. Big guys get hit hard, little guys get hit hard. It is a situation where, yes, physically, Darren Waller is going to be more physically durable than Kyle Phillips, but to say that he shook is just outright stupid. So looking at the situation for Phillips and Hilliard, I think Hilliard obviously provides the most value because it's the best source of team speed that they have right now.
Player I want to mention before you probably want to ask me about something else, maybe Jacksonville or, but I think that Hilliard needs to be a continuing factor as the third down back because he brings some juice to the offense. And, something as simple as that 30-yard reception when it's 3rd and 9 deep in their own territory, when the defense is basically giving them a 5-yard throw and he turns it into a 30-yard gain. We saw him, I guess it was week 1, was it, with a touchdown? I mean, was it week 2?
Yeah, well, no, 2 touchdowns. He's their leading.
2, yeah. I mean, I think as a third down back, he gives them some juice, and I think they need that juice.
No, well, they got team speed. That's what he provides to this offense. They don't have a lot of it, but it certainly helps. Lamar Daniels, aka Lamar Jackson, perhaps, says, what happened to Josh Gordon? Guys, I mean, Josh Gordon's there. He exists. He's a real player on the practice squad. And also, like, you know, don't do this again to me for a whole nother season like Golden Tate. Like, let's just not. They're not good players anymore. Like, there is not. Let me say this to you in as stark of terms as humanly possible. The difference between Cody Hollister and Josh Gordon is not that great at this point in their careers. It's just not that great. It's the exact same thing. It's just a dude that exists when you need a body at wide receiver because they're waiting for Racey McMath to get back. If you told me that Josh Gordon was going to be on the roster by the end of the season, I would or wasn't going to be on the roster by the end of the season, I would not be surprised. Why do we have Gordon on the roster? Because he is a wide receiver who has played in the NFL and is physically able to play right now. And you are waiting on Racey. Josh Gordon is not good. and that's not like, I hope that doesn't sound like a personal attack of Josh Gordon. It's just, you know, it's like, how many of you have you seen the clip from the I Am Athlete podcast with Channing Crowder and Cam Newton, where Channing Crowder is talking to Cam Newton? He asks Cam Newton basically for an assessment of what Cam Newton thinks he is at this stage in his career. This is like this year. And Cam Newton says, they're not 32 NFL quarterbacks better than me. And Channing Crowder looks at him like he's got 6 heads. He says, there are not 32 NFL quarterbacks better than you right now. Cam. Like, seriously, reevaluate where you are. It's not, you know, it's not the professional athlete's job to doubt themselves. Of course, that's nonsense. But like, it's the rest of us. It's Josh Gordon played in 12 games last year for the Chiefs. I bet most of you didn't know that Josh Gordon played in 12 NFL games last year and didn't do shit. So I think that, you know, I don't mean it to sound like an attack of Josh Gordon. Just think the dude is in his early 30s. He hasn't played a lot of football. He is not physically what he was when he was getting 1,000-yard seasons with Brandon Weeden at quarterback for the terrible, terrible Browns. Like, enough with the Josh Gordon stuff. He just physically exists on the roster. All right. It's going to do it for us tonight on A to Z Sports Prime Time. Brian Scruggs says, 2 minutes is too long to talk Josh Gordon. You're right, because he hadn't played 2 minutes in an NFL game at this point. Actually, that's not true. He played a lot in the fourth quarter against the Bills. He probably played more than 2 minutes against the Bills. That's going to do it for us tonight. Check out the episode. Oh, yeah, I played the Greg Cosell clip. I thought I didn't for a second. That's Greg Cosell from The Install. We do it every Wednesday. It's available to you in your podcast feed. I don't know why I'm so spacey tonight, but go check out The Install. We broke down the Colts game. We broke down the Raiders game. We looked at the Jags and the Chargers, what the hell happened there. We talked about the Colts and a couple of other teams. A London game, an early game to start the NFL Sunday off, and a fun Thursday nighter between the Dolphins and the Bengals tomorrow night. So we will do one more primetime show tomorrow. Tomorrow. And we will also, on the radio show, have Rashad Weaver. That'll be a lot of fun. Rashad Weaver, the Titans' second-year edge rusher who's getting a lot of play time because of absolute necessity. Have a great rest of your evening. I'll talk to you guys either on radio tomorrow at 10 or on A to Z Sports Primetime for one more time this week.
There's Matt. All right, we haven't scored a point since I came in here. I am gone, guys.
What? That's it? We got a couple more questions. No, that's it.
Peace out by the GM.